Time of the month again to talk about the guy that's down there, the Oscar statue. Welcome to the September coverage. Do you remember the 21st night of September? I do. I didn't have a power cut for a change. Joining me.
It's my birthday. Of course I remember that date.
Oh, Earth, Wind and Fire. Sons of bitches. They purposely wrote that song for you, Owen. Probably.
Probably.
So, yeah. Owen's here.
Hi.
AJ's also here.
I think so.
And I'm your MC, guys, gals, and non-binary pals, Ashley. As we get into quite an intriguing state of the race, considering what I just found out today. We've got more bloody points to give away. We have 2 new categories in the globes. Those 2 fingers might be useful for it, depending on how you feel about them. So, in the television category, so first time we've added a category in here for like 40 years or something, apparently. We're getting Best Stand-Up Show.
I like that.
And then, in the Cop-Out Award, in which, wait, they actually might have done it better than bloody, hang on. Deleted the... I put that on the wrong, thing. I can delete that sheet and rename that. The other one, because I'm trying to get it in my notes, is the Cinematic and Box Office Achievement Award.
Oh, God.
Where film the criteria is the film has to make $150 million, of which at least $100 million is just from US box office. And unlike all the other Globes categories, that's going to be a list of 8. So this is what happens when the Hollywood Foreign Press Association are not put in charge. Let's get it out there to the commoners. We need ratings, damn it.
I mean, at least it's just the Globes. So
For now. Let's see how many others go, oh wait, this is a good idea. Dun, 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 dun.
It's a weird thing to specifically single out stand-up for some reason.
Well, I'm trying to think. I mean, Critics' Choice has had stand-up, hasn't it, for the last few years?
It's they have it under comedy special, which more often than not is stand-up.
As I just noticed, I think I lost tabs. That's great. Panic over. Or not panic. Big panic. Oh, that's why. I didn't create a copy. That's why I ballsed up. Right. Also, the interesting stuff that's happened is we're beginning to get the submissions in for the international stuff. And thanks to Bry on the Discord to give us a little bit of note for it. Anatomy of a Fall is not France's submission. 96. I'm trying to see if I can get what did make it in. That's kind of a sort of swerve, but we've also Japan's selection is Wim Wenders' Perfect Day, which means Boy and the Heron doesn't even make it in. So it's all going weird. The other one, where is it? Zone of Interest is apparently the UK submission. It seems weird, but I guess, technically it's about. Powell Ching Dory, who did Lunana and the Yak in the Classroom, hence why we started with the Yak today. His new film is going to be Bhutan's submission again. And then Tunisia's submission is Four Daughters, which is a documentary. Which Brian notes it's possible double follow-up. And then J.A. Bayona's Society of the Snow is Spain's submission. And Poland's submission is The Peasants, the oil-painted animated film from the same people who did Loving Vincent.
I feel like there's more recognizable directors being thrown into this than there usually is.
Yeah.
On kind of a wider scale, anyway.
I'm trying to see list of submissions. I don't want the 95th. I want the 96th. Also, because of I don't know whether this is going to change back or whether because they've committed to the bit, they can't. The Governor's Awards have been moved to January instead of November. I'm not sure what's going on there. France's submission was Tran An Hung's The Taste of Things. Which is, to be fair, I have seen Binoche circled around as a possible contender for either actress or supporting actress with that, so that's probably why that made it in there. I'm just looking at some of the other, whether there's any other big names that have been submitted in or have been massively snubbed. I don't see any that I recognise. But yeah, that's. And then the other thing, which we'll obviously touch on, that Bri did bring up is the campaigning has officially begun for Lily Gladstone as lead actress, not supporting or anything. Which makes.
I didn't really think that was ever a mystery, but yeah.
I didn't know how much of a role she was going to be in it, and it's hard to tell from the trailer. Probably because it's a 3.5-hour film, so it don't.
You can especially see the campaign starting by the posters that have been put out now, where the posters say DiCaprio, De Niro, Gladstone, like it's the three of them above the title.
And then the other one, which obviously we'll get into pretty soon because it's the first one to talk about, the Barbie conundrum. I want to say it like that because I want to make it sound like a Bourne film. The Quiller Memorandum. No, yeah.
We could just make a Pulp Fiction reference and call it the Barbie situation.
I was gonna say I was gonna say that as well, but I thought no, I'm being too classy there.
Yeah, if we're gonna talk about the Barbie situation, we can probably start because that's where that conversation is.
Yeah, I'm just having a quick look. Owen, do you want to go for any of this other stuff in the live chat?
We might as well, because if not, we're gonna get stuck.
Yeah.
Josie says it was funny. Dr. Will Dodson said on The Disconnected that the poster for Past Lives with them touching the subway rail grosses him out. It's filled with diseases. Fair. Brian says first major recaps have to be Venice and TIFF. And of course, he's talking about his international category updates that Ashley mentioned about what he posted on Discord. Brian said, glad to see Lily Gladstone is going leading. AJ and Owen got it right. Yes, we did. We're getting something else right, too. But we'll get there later. Josie says, I think Lily Gladstone could win and lead. After all, it would be historic. Brian says, despite Anatomy of a Fall not being France's submission, it will still be fine with Neon's campaign. Josie said, happy birthday, Owen. Thank you, Josie. With a cake, a noisemaker, and a balloon emoji. I love those emojis. Josie says, to you, Ashley, instead of guys, gals, and non-binary pals, here's a term I learned on the Disconnected podcast, Thadies and Gentle Them.
I like the other one because it sounds like a game show.
It sounds like
Ladies and Gentlemen is
Sam Rockwell
pretty
would
good
say.
as well. Then again, that might piss off people that, considering there's a band over here that two of the four wanted to reunite but refused to play in certain clubs, and the other two were like, well, okay, then we're not playing. So Ladies and Gentlemen might piss off that demographic. So
Brian was talking about earlier about the categories with, Dick Clark Productions are in charge of that. Josie says, could Sound of Freedom make it into the blockbuster category? LOL.
That's what I was. Hang on, let me check. List of American films of 2023, because that will give me box offices for just the American viewership. Sound of Freedom's at number 9. As it tentatively stands, you'd have Barbie, Mario, Spider-Verse, Guardians, Oppenheimer, Mermaid, Quantum Mania, John Wick, Sound of Freedom, and Indiana Jones. That's the top 10 as it stands in terms of box office.
Josie says Peasants is the submission from Poland. Animation representation, let's go. It would also be great if it got into adapted. Brian says, not just The Boy and the Heron, but Hamaguchi's Evil Does Not Exist was not submitted either for Japan.
Kind of crazy, you know. The Grand Jury Prize winner from Venice not even being submitted.
So before we get started, I got two things. Well, one of them I can do throughout the show, and that would be our regular correspondent that has been coming here for a long time. Has been a good friend of the show, and we very much enjoy his content every single time in the live chat, and that's Spencer Reed. He's got his predictions here, and I have those. They were sent to me via the social media.
Mm-hmm.
And Josie chimed in with some comments and questions. I'm just going to read them now. Unfortunately, Anatomy of a Fall was not submitted as France's entry. However, I still retain faith for its trajectory with Neon behind it. After all, I heard a lot of it's in English anyway. Penelope Cruz got in the lead without Parallel Mothers being submitted by Spain. Not to mention, it was also nominated for score. Original version. Then again, it was also directed by Almodovar. Only 3 non-American produced foreign films in history have ever received Best Picture nominations, despite not getting in Best International. Grand Illusion, Cries and Whispers, and Il Postino. Who's to say that can't happen this year with Anatomy of a Fall? Nevertheless, I'm very excited for France's actual submission, Tran Anh Hung's Taste of Things, which originally was called Pot Au Feu, F-E-U, better title, in her opinion. Starring Benoit Magamel and Juliette Binoche, Taste of Things won Best Director at Cannes, and it is still called the original name on Wikipedia. Even the wiki agrees that the Taste of Things is a stupid effing title. Her words, not mine. Since Hung won Best Director at Cannes, it would be interesting if he ended up being nominated for a director like Bennett Miller and Polakowski were. Sight Unseen, it would also be cool if Taste of Things, that's what we're going to call it from now on, were to be nominated for costumes or production design. Juliette will be submitted in supporting actress. It would be interesting since Gladstone moved to lead if she could squeeze into there. After all, she is a previous winner. Oh, to tie into that, do we have a favorite Juliette Binoche performance?
want to
It's
say
too obvious.
I was going to
It's
say
too obvious.
myself the one I was going to say is the three colors. Was it red or white or blue? No, it was blue, wasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, it feels too obvious to say the English Patient, but I mean, whenever I hear Julia Binoche's name, that's honestly the first performance that comes to mind. And I don't think it's just because it's what she won for.
Fair. Josie continues. There are some who say that Lily Gladstone made a mistake moving to lead, given that she would have swept supporting. Here's what I have to say to those speaking in absolutes. You don't know that for sure. Not with Divine Joy Randolph for the holdovers in the mix. Ask me if I've heard of the Bear Claw at Panera. I used to spend quite a bit of time at Panera on Sunday mornings in another life a long time ago. When the Iron Claw comes out, I want Panera to promote it because Jeremy Allen White is in the Bear and the Iron Claw. Yes. I think this was mentioned a couple shows ago. I remember hearing that vaguely. Just like Barbie, Anatomy of a Fall is written by a couple, Justine Triet and Arthur Harari. Baumbach and Gerwig were going to win the original screenplay category. Triet and Harari, hold our beers. Yay, we got to do memes for the win, or memes if you're a Dylan Postel fan. If you know, you know. I am not giving predictions as I am script dictions manifesting these nominees. Sight unseen could change once I see more of them. I am breaking the rules by giving more than 5. I'm giving 15 in the Best Picture category and not 10.
Oh.
Be a rebel, Josie. Let's go. I am adding stuff from international submissions. I think of these as personal predictions for what will be in my personal lineups later in the season. Again, I've not seen these international films yet. I'm just going for what I've read about them. Oh, Lord, this is going to be fun. All right. Supporting actress, Ys Bagsy for About Dry Grasses.
Hang on, should we save them for when we actually get to the bit? I don't know.
Kind of dances around some things a little bit, but we'll get there.
Briefly on the Venice and the TIFF stuff, Poor Things won the Golden Lion at Venice, strengthening its claims, I would say. Well, interestingly, Callie Spaney got the Best Actress there for Priscilla, and Peter Sarsgaard, for Memory on that stuff. And then at TIFF, the top 3 in reverse order was Boy and the Heron, The Holdovers, and American Fiction. Not bad for a first-time feature director. We've also got, at least in terms of documentary, we've got Mountain Queen, Summer Quamp, or Summer Camp, but with a Q. I don't know about, and Mr. Dress Up, The Magic of Make Believe. So I guess we've got another Mr. Rogers, except he's called Mr. Dress Up. Yeah, those are the sort of the big hits from those two. London Film Festival is coming up in a number of weeks.
So yeah, as we progress, we'll get Josie and Spencer's predictions. Josie, of course, being more of a personalized prediction, and Spencer's being more of a traditional prediction. Brian's last comment here, go back to Akira Kurosawa's Ran. Did so well without being Japan's submission in 85, so Anatomy of a Fall is gonna still do well with nomination. Remains to be seen. So it actually stares at the screen.
Wow, so I'm just trying to sort out my spreadsheet for everything. By moving tabs earlier on, it sort of confused the hell out of me. Right, so I think that's everything of note there. So I think we should probably get down and get with it. As we start off, as ever, with AJ and adapted screenplay.
All right. The category is still pretty weak, as it has been for quite some time over the years. I only made one change, and that change comes out of TIFF. Because I was already saying I didn't really know what to do with Zone of Interest, because I wasn't really sold on it getting a lot of love and getting like a lot of... It was up in the air who's going to take to it and how many people are going to take to it. So I basically just kind of had it in here as a filler last time, so it was really easy to make this one change. So for adapted now, I have American Fiction in its place, along with Barbie, Killers of the Flower Moon, Oppenheimer, and Poor Things. Before we get into the Barbie thing, are we under the impression that The Holdovers is like a feel-good movie, in a sense?
The trailer, I will say, AJ, if someone that I know you don't watch trailers, just looking at the trailer, The Holdovers kind of reminds me, just as a trailer, something I would see on Friday nights on ABC.
Is that good or bad?
For me, that's good. It's kind of got that feel, like you talk about that. It's kind of like a feel good type of movie.
Okay, so as we talked about last time, or whenever we talked about the TIFF winners, surprisingly, the audience award at TIFF usually has a good track record of the movies that hit really big, as far as like widespread and with an audience. There must really be something to American Fiction that it barely beat out a feel-good Alexander Payne movie. So I didn't like go all in on American Fiction, but I definitely feel like this TIFF win is something to pay attention to. The other three speak for themselves. As far as Barbie goes, as I said, it was brought up in our last Q&A also about them campaigning for original, and just immediately. And then last time I talked to Owen on the phone, this came up, and I said the same thing there too, which is, I just don't think they're going to get away with it. Because obviously there's the rule where a sequel is adapted just automatically, mainly because of the characters and how they carry over. Not only are Barbie and Ken and all of their iterations pre-existing characters, the locations, like the dream house, all of those are things that were already created and already existed. And this isn't the same scenario as like a true story, where you're telling like the story of real people, but it's an original screenplay because it's not based on a book or anything, it's just based on real people. These Barbie and Ken and the Dreamhouse and all that stuff is stuff that's already been created. So I really don't get how they think they're going to get away with going into original. I don't see that happening. So, I mean, unless everybody decides to rally around it, but why? Is it to make some kind of point, or because the movie has like because people are still saying, oh, it's such an original movie for its concept. That's all well and good, but the concept is still using characters and places that have already been created by somebody else. So I don't know what they think they're doing there.
Well, I think they were trying to get Lego Movie, I think, for original screenplay like a decade ago. Which is weird because obviously some of the characters in that are obviously adapted from other stuff.
Yeah, a lot of them. Because I was getting ready to say, well, that makes sense, but then I remembered like all the comic book characters that are in it, and it's like, oh, well, maybe not.
And to some extent, the other one that I saw brought up in something was Toy Story. There was controversy about that being original back in the day. Which is weird because that was original at the time. It wasn't like it was based off anything, I think.
Yeah, but like Mr. Potato Head and the Slinky Dog and stuff like that were
Oh,
toys
I
that really
see.
existed.
So that, yeah. So we don't sort of have a exact precedent, especially when like predominantly the entire thing is based on adapted works. We can't get away with sort of, you know, Buzz Lightyear and Woody being original, just like Emmett and Wildstar were original in the Lego film. There is pretty much nobody original in this. They're all Barbies or Kens, or they're Will Ferrell.
Yeah, and it's like the case of Toy Story 3 being nominated and adapted, and pretty much the only reason for that is the characters already existed from the other movies,
Yeah.
which is why sequels are adapted automatically. So yeah, I don't know why this is even a thing. And I once again, adapted is so weak. Why not just stay here? Are they afraid of Nolan? Like that's the I mean, or Lanthimos really. Poor Things got like I put Poor Things in a lot, and I still feel like I really underestimated it. And I was even saying in the last video I underestimated it, but I was underestimating how much I was already underestimating Poor Things, is what it sounds like.
So,
But yeah,
my 5 is until I get word that it's officially in whatever. Barbie, at least in my predictions, is staying original. My adapted 5 are American Fiction, Killers of the Flower Moon, Oppenheimer, Poor Things, and The Zone of Interest. Zone of Interest would probably move out for Barbie to go in, I would say. Uh, out of the list of them, if I was to push one out. Yeah, American Fiction comes in, replacing The Killer. Just because I haven't heard enough about The Killer to sort of really commit to it yet. And I would say the TIFF stuff for American Fiction probably means it's likely to get nominated. Whether it wins or not, you know, who knows. But I think that was enough momentum and whatever to at least put it in the running here for my list. To the chat.
Yep. So I've got a couple things here. Brian's lineup seems kind of familiar. And it's probably not the only time we hear this lineup. Adapted would be American Fiction, Barbie, Killers of the Flower Moon, Poor Things, and Oppenheimer. Josie says, AJ, it's a sports tactic, putting Barbie in original, that is.
I'm assuming that's referring to the getting in with the weaker competition.
Yeah.
Which is what we were talking about with them being afraid of Nolan and Lanthimos. But I mean, I know we're getting ahead of ourselves when we talk about original, but I mean, I guess it could win original if it went there, but it'd be fucking cheap.
Brian says, I think we underestimated Poor Things. This is probably because of the original September release date. Logical. So as it goes with the chat, also, I have the predictions. Spencer's adapted lineup is Oppenheimer, Poor Things, The Boys in the Boat, The Zone of Interest, and Ferrari. And, you know, it's interesting. Like I say this every time, and I say 100% that we don't look at each other's predictions beforehand. Sometimes great minds think alike. I also made just one switch. And I really wish that I didn't have to bump it out because it deserves to be here. But this American Fiction thing looks like it's going to be a big deal. So it took out Blackberry. I'm not happy to say that. But it also joins, once again, the same lineup of the panel, at least 2/3 of it: Barbie, Oppenheimer, Killers of the Flower Moon, and Poor Things. So AJ and I are 100% 100% in sync when it comes to adapted.
I just had to look up what The Boys in the Boat is. I forgot Clooney had another movie.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I don't feel it's been a long time since they loved Clooney. So we'll see what happens with that.
Right.
So, switching over to original.
Well, original's easy for me because I didn't change anything from last time. So I still have An Adam and Befall, The Holdovers, The Iron Claw, Past Lives, and Saltburn. Um, I actually really loosened up on Saltburn for reasons that we'll talk about, but from what I've been looking around and seeing, which isn't much, so I could not have a very good sample size here. It kind of looks like the A24 movies are starting to get a little slept on. Where from what I looked at, it feels like nobody I'm looking at is even mentioning the Iron Claw, and Past Lives seems to be dying down a little bit. But I kind of feel like Past Lives is one of those movies that came out early enough that it might die down, but then when the actual big awards start coming out, it'll come back around. It'll probably be what its trajectory is. But I really feel like people are sleeping on the Iron Claw from what I've seen, and I mean, to each their own, I guess.
Then again, I'm surprised that we haven't had a trailer for that yet. In any way,
yeah,
shape,
it's
or form.
still it comes out like at Christmas, so it's probably still a little early yet. But I can see them going hard on it once it's out there, because as soon as all it takes is one trailer hitting, and then it's off with its campaign.
I would say we get our first one before October's over.
I'd say we'd have to. I don't think the BBC would want anything like, because BBC.
I mean, they obviously have confidence in it if they put it in the. If they put it on the date that they put it, they obviously have some kind of confidence in it, I would think.
Right.
I mean, I think they've... Okay, so a teaser trailer went up a few weeks back. Apparently. But, that's all we know. Part of me also is wondering with the A24 stuff, sort of not just sleeping on that, but original screenplay, I've ousted Air, because I've got a feeling that MGM/Amazon, their big ones now are probably going to be Saltburn and American Fiction.
Yeah, I got
two big ones to flagpole.
Yeah, I only had Air in for one thing before, and I just have Air being forgotten, unfortunately. It shouldn't be, but I think it will be.
So with my 5, Air gets replaced with Anatomy of a Fall. We also have Barbie of the Holdovers. Past Lives comes in, replacing May December, and Saltburn remains. So that might stick for a while, to be fair. Obviously, with the Barbie question sort of being addressed, hopefully within the next month or so. I mean, it probably doesn't help that the WGA hasn't said anything. I mean, to be fair, they've probably been busy trying to get their sort of deal sorted than worry about awards and eligibility and whatever. But now that that's tentatively been agreed upon, I guess we might be seeing something on that front, possibly soon. But I'd say it's a strong list still. Tweaking it. To the chat.
Josie says, one cautionary caveat I would say with American Fiction, it's distributed by MGM. They're not the best at campaigning.
It's Amazon. They might actually give a shit now. Considering how, the last few years has been sort of, I mean, Apple won 2 years ago. Netflix has always been in the hunt for the last 3 or 4 years. Maybe Amazon's realizing, well, by having the MGM sort of stuff, they sort of need to deliver on that front itself, maybe, to try and bolster them.
I mean, Amazon already has I mean, this is me saying this, so I really want to make a point if I'm bringing this up. Amazon did Manchester by the Sea, right?
I think
So
so.
they've got like big wins under their belt already. So
yeah, but they haven't got anywhere near.
We have precedent that Amazon can do well.
We haven't got anywhere near where it should have been. I'm trying to remember whether Manchester was solely Amazon. No, yeah. Well, roadside attractions. I can't remember. Yeah, that was sort of partly Lionsgate. I can't remember who distributed it here. Let me find out. There we go. Amazon Studio did US distribution rights. International, I have no clue. Great. I don't want to break out the. Hang on, go on my tablet. Manchester by the Sea.
So, Brian says original lineup: Anatomy of a Fall, The Holdovers, The Iron Claw, May, December, and Past Lives. And Spencer's predictions: The Iron Claw, Barbie, The Creator, Showing Up, and Beau is Afraid. Talking about A24 losing steam, Brian, it looks like Spencer doubled down. My lineup has not changed either. I still have Saltburn, The Holdovers, Asteroid City, Air, and The Iron Claw. I am not giving up on Air until I absolutely have to. And that means if something like huge bumps it out, then that's what I have to do. But I'm keeping it here as long as I can.
I wish I could have confidence in stuff like Air and Asteroid City and Blackberry, but I think they may have just been too early.
There's too much competition.
Blackberry may have been too low key when it came out too, unfortunately, because it got great reviews and great reactions, but as far as like release goes and people talking about it, it feels like it just kind of came and went, which it didn't deserve, but that seems to be what happened.
It'll be semi-interesting what happens here, because that's releasing, I think, the same week as all the Exorcist stuff, that first week in October, i.e. Let's get it out before Taylor Swift's thing happens. So with that, and being in and around sort of London Film Festival, whether that will stick with at least the BAFTA audience, because we've seen if stuff happens in BAFTA, it might give it some leeway to possibly get in for contention. That might be Blackberry's possibly only hope. Well, I guess Blackberry would be eligible for Spirits, right?
It seems like it.
It looks like it would be.
Mm-hmm. Well, I've just double checked. Manchester by the Sea, at least in the UK, was Studio Canal, so it wasn't anything to do with Amazon. So Manchester by the Sea was just US distribution.
So, real quick, Josie chimes in with the Oscar flashback. 60 years ago, the 1963-64 season, with Tom Jones winning adapted over HUD, Sundays and Sibel, Captain Newman and Lilies of the Field, How the West Was Won, one original, beating America, America, 4 Days of Maples, 8.5, and Love with the Proper Stranger. And Best Supporting Actress went to Margaret Rutherford for VIPs over Edith Evans for Tom Jones, Lilia Scalia for Lilies of the Field, Diane Salento for Tom Jones, and Joyce Redmond also for Tom Jones. 3 from the same film.
Yeah.
Josie says Best Supporting Actor went to Melvin Douglas for HUD, over Hugh Griffith for Tom Jones, Nick Adams for Twilight of Honor, Bobby Darin for Captain Newman, and John Huston for The Cardinal. Trisha Neal won for HUD for Best Lead Actress, beating Natalie Wood for Love with a Proper Stranger, Shirley MacLaine with Irma La Duce, take a shot, Leslie Caron for The L-Shaped Room, and Rachel Roberts for Supporting Life. Toby Richardson won Best Director for Toby Jones, take a shot. Tom Jones over Federico Fellini for 8.5. Otto Preminger, he is Mr. Freeze, no matter what anybody says. The Cardinal. Elliot Kazan for America, America, and Martin Ritt for HUD. And Best Picture went to Tom Jones over Cleopatra, Louisa Field, America, America, How the West Was Won. And Josie thinks if there was a 10 group instead of the 5, it would have been 8.5 HUD, Sundays and Sibel, Captain Newman, and Love with a Proper Stranger. Welcome, Mr. Top Hat says Poor Things is really the one to watch out for. People were sleeping on it at first, but it's been charging forward.
I don't think people were necessarily sleeping on it. I think everybody was just sort of underestimating how loved it would be.
Yeah.
Because Lanthimos has kind of always been, ever since Dogtooth and the Lobster, Lanthimos has consistently been in the running. The only movie he's done since Dogtooth that didn't get any Oscar nominations was Killing of a Sacred Deer, I think.
Interesting.
And then The Favorite got fucking 10 nominations.
Yes.
So yeah, I think we just didn't see it coming how loved it would be.
And Josie's personal choice for original screenplay. I don't have an adapted one here. I'm not seeing one. About Dry Glasses. Take a shot. About Dry Grasses. Air. Anatomy of a Fall. Asteroid City. The Boy and the Heron. Fallen Leaves. The Holdovers. Past Lives. Perfect Days, and The Taste of Things. All right. Josie says, Mr. Top Hat, I've been manifesting that since the late spring via scripting in my journal. Yeah, Josie was the first person I remember outright just saying that Poor Things was going to be a juggernaut this year. Brian says, you mean the U.S. release for Sundays and Sibele, because they had that rule back in the 50s, 60s, and 70s where some films were nominated or won Best Foreign Language Film, then the following year getting nominated for additional categories. And the thunder rolls. Let's move out of scripting and let's move into acting, shall we?
All right. This one seems a little too clean, so I know the 5 I'm looking at are not right. It's just a matter of who's going to get bumped out and for which very late entry that maybe won't be in the running until BAFTA. And then I don't know if I'm specifically thinking of Leslie Manville for Phantom Thread or if I feel like that happens a lot. But yeah. So what I have here is, obviously I already alluded to the fact that I took Viola Davis out, who I had in for Air, because I felt like I had an argument with the whole Viola Davis's snub last year was really loud, and people took notice of it, and that would help, especially since she's great in it. But like I said, I think Air, that whole thing was probably just too early, and there's a lot of competition to get through. So I only made one change. I took Viola Davis out, and I put in Danielle Brooks for The Color Purple, along with God willing, Emily Blunt for Oppenheimer, please. We're gonna do. I guess we're potentially gonna do the repeating history with The Color Purple and have both Danielle Brooks and Taraji in here, just like Oprah and Margaret Avery did. Julianne Moore for May December, and Devon Joy Randolph for The Holdovers. And so I feel like one of them is expendable for a very last-minute choice, but because it's a last minute choice, I can't really tell you what it is right now because I don't know, but it'll come along.
Go ahead.
So obviously Lily has been moved out officially now. I've also kicked Viola Davis into the maybe pile. So, in their place come Taraji P. Henson for The Colour Purple and Julianne Moore for May December. Along with the remaining Emily Blunt for Oppenheimer, Rosamund Pike for Saltburn, and Divine Joy Randolph for The Holdovers. I'm still not sure, because have we even heard whether The Colour Purple is coming out this year?
Yes.
Is it? Okay.
Yes. I saw the trailer a couple of times the other day, and yes, it's definitely coming out this year.
They've officially confirmed it. There we go. I can now start actually putting it in for consideration. I just went with Henson as she's the bigger name. I expect that to change. This is going to be that one where it's The Colour Purple for someone. At least one.
Okay. Josie's personal lineups for supporting actress. I mentioned this. I started this earlier, but I stopped myself. S.A. Baggsy for About Dry Grasses, Emily Blunt for Oppenheimer, Viola Davis for Air, Merv Dizdar for About Dry Grasses, Claire Foy for All of Us Strangers, Sandra Hüller for The Zone of Interest, Rachel McAdams for Are You There, God Is Me, Margaret, Julianne Moore for May December, and Divine Joy Randolph for The Holdovers. Joining Spencer's predictions, Vanessa Kirby for Napoleon, Penelope Cruz for Ferrari, America Ferrara for Barbie, and Taraji P. Henson for The Color Purple, as well as Emily Blunt for Oppenheimer. Oh, once again, just like I always mentioned at the end of the show, AJ cannot be killed by conventional weapons. I cannot be swayed by conventional arguments. I'm keeping Viola Davis in here. She belongs here. She should be here. And given what else I do in the rest of my predictions, she needs to be here. The weird one here is I bumped out Julianne Moore for May December right before the trailer drops this week. So, yeah, that might not be a good idea. But if I have to get Viola Davis out there, I can just move Julianne Moore right in. Because Julianne Moore got replaced by somebody that also has 2 movies out this year. And I feel that she is a very big part of both of them for different reasons. So my supporting actress lineup, Taraji P. Henson for The Color Purple, Divine Joy Randolph for The Holdovers, Viola Davis for Air, Emily Blunt for Oppenheimer, and yes, America Ferrara for Barbie.
Maybe my expectations are just too high, and I'm not trying to convince you or anything. I'm just saying from my personal place, this isn't just Julianne Moore. This is Julianne Moore in a Todd Haynes movie. And I can't stress enough how much of a different monster that is. I said I hope I'm not getting my hopes up with that, but I'm really, really excited about it.
Like I said before, until I'm not gonna American Hustle Air, but I will say I do have standards. So when I see that it is completely hopeless, that it's not going to happen for any reason at all, then I could probably just move Julianne Moore back in that spot. But yeah, I'm good for now. Here, let's have some fun. Best supporting actor.
All right, I got a trend going here. I only made one change again.
Interesting.
And it might be a controversial one. I said before that I'm not despite everything saying otherwise, I am not banking on Barbie being an across-the-board juggernaut the way a lot of people are. I think it'll get a couple of key nominations, and that might be it. So when we did this category last month, I had Gosling in here begrudgingly, basically because I didn't have somebody to put in that fifth spot. But and I went along with the argument of, yeah, his performance and the character basically are at least modernly iconic at this point. But I had a conversation with you, Owen, recently where I said, in any other universe, Gosling's performance would be beloved, but awards-wise would get no farther than the Globes.
Mm.
I'm gonna try that, because somebody who was kind of in the mix here before is now really in the mix. There might be two people that are in the mix, more so than they were before, but I went with one. So I took Ryan Gosling out to put in Willem Dafoe for Poor Things, and then I kept De Niro for Killers of the Flower Moon, Downey for Oppenheimer, John McGarr for Past Lives, and Jeremy Allen White for The Iron Claw. And maybe some people will tell me John McGarr is somebody to not bet on, but like I was saying, I feel like Past Lives might be one of those things where it might lose momentum. I don't even know where its loss of momentum is even coming from, but it might lose momentum, but ultimately will come back around. And McGar's performance plays a huge part in the emotional impact of the last act of Past Lives. So I'd be surprised if that didn't carry over. And like I said, Jeremy Allen White seems like a slam dunk here, but for some reason people are sleeping on the Iron Claw. So, Downey and De Niro, I would imagine, are pretty safe. I don't know if De Niro might seem too safe. Kind of like, remember when De Niro in Joy was a thing for a little bit before we realized it was kind of a nothing part in a nothing movie?
Yeah.
But I don't know how many people realize. Well, now the trailers and spots are everywhere, maybe they do. But there was a time where I wonder if people didn't realize that De Niro's part in Killers of the Flower Moon should be really meaty, where he's playing like a really, really fucking bad guy. And if we're gonna get like old school De Niro, like Scorsese De Niro, that should really be something. So I feel pretty good about having him in here. And like I was saying, in a just world, even with a few of these still unseen to me, Downey would run away with this, which I'm still kind of hoping happens. But honestly, the person I have the second most faith in under Downey is Jeremy Allen White. So I'm just gonna stick with that until proven otherwise.
Ashley.
I've moved out Glenn Howerton for Blackberry, unfortunately, and Jeremy Allen White for the Iron Claw. And it gets interesting because I think we have our first double. So I have Defoe for Poor Things, De Niro for Killers of the Flower Moon, which wasn't in last time, Downey Jr. for Oppenheimer, Gosling for Barbie, and Mark Ruffalo for Poor Things. I think there's a possible chance we might get a daily double here on Poor Things, because I've heard a lot of good things about both performances, and I think it's probably strong enough that they could both make it in.
All right. To the chat. Brian, supporting actress, Blunt, Brooks, Henson, Moore, and Randolph. Josie says, adapted was All of Us Strangers, American Fiction, Are You There, God Is Me, Margaret, Killers of the Flower Moon, Oppenheimer, Peasants, Poor Things, Spider-Verse, Zone of Interest. Brian says, I wasn't going to nominate Blunt for a minimal appearance, but then I remember they nominated Judd Hirsch for his one scene last year. Top Hat says,
Blunt. I mean, obviously it's it's not too much longer. But Blunt is in Oppenheimer a lot more than Hirsch is in The Fabelman.
100%. Supporting actress for Top Hat, Blunt, Brooks, Henson, Moore, Randolph. Now that Gladstone is lead. There's room for 2 color purple actresses. Josie says Merv Dizdar won Best Actress at Cannes. I hear she's more supporting from those that saw it. That's why I put her there instead of lead. Hopefully sight unseen if I like Taste of Things, which I think I will. Juliette Binoche can squeeze in. That's the Top Hat. If Blunt is nominated, this will be the second time in this decade a drunk wife nominated for supporting actress. The other one, of course, Kirsten Dunst.
I feel like there's been a lot of drunk wives in this category over the years.
Yes. Top Hat says supporting actor De Niro, Gosling, Downey, Magaro, and Ruffalo. Brian says De Niro, Downey, Gosling, Margot, and Jeremy Allen White. Fun fact, John Magaro is married to a Korean woman in real life, too. And Celine Song is married to a writer in real life. A TV writer. And Top Hat reiterates, take a shot. Honestly, I don't think any of my choices are locked. It's still up in the air at this point. Well, so we have the lineup of Spencer, Jeremy Allen White, Paul Mescal, Glenn Howerton, Robert Downey Jr., and Ryan Gosling. And begrudgingly, I had to also say goodbye to Glenn Howerton for Blackberry, which I'm not happy about. And extremely begrudgingly, I had to say goodbye to Jeremy Allen White for the Iron Claw. And joining the triple that everybody seems to think are locks at this point, even though it is September, Gosling, Downey, and De Niro, we have, Poor Things double shot, Defoe and Ruffalo.
Yeah, when I talk about the things I have a lot of confidence in, I hope that isn't misconstrued as speaking in absolutes, because God knows how many tirades I've gone on about people speaking in absolutes, especially this early.
Certainly.
I'm against people speaking in absolutes in December and January, honestly. But there's just stuff that I really have confidence in right now.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that's clear.
I think at this point, everybody is sold on Barbie. Everybody is sold on Oppenheimer. Everyone is sold on Killers of the Flower Moon, and everyone is sold on Poor Things. That's what I'm hearing the most about of anything at this point.
Define sold on Barbie.
It's going to do very well. It doesn't have to win to do very well. Its nomination count should be pretty high.
Here's the when I say that I don't think Barbie's going to be the juggernaut people think it is, I think it'll get plenty of tech nominations. I only have it for 2 of the top 8 categories.
I feel that is a huge mistake, but I guess we'll find out soon enough.
You mean like the next category?
Actually, yeah. Let's go into it.
Okay, keep in mind what I just said now. I don't think Barbie's going to be the juggernaut that people think it is, with the exception of some select categories. I didn't make any changes to actress from last time.
Okay.
So my 5 are still Lily Gladstone, Sandra Hüller for Anatomy of a Fall, Greta Lee for Past Lives, Natalie Portman for May December, and Emma Stone for Poor Things. As I said last time, still leaving out Robbie, still leaving out Fantasia Barrino, and still leaving out Carey Mulligan. I still kind of see thrown around a little bit. I feel like there's even somebody that I'm forgetting, but the person here I feel like I have the least faith in is Portman. Like, if I wanted to put Robbie in, but I said, just given the competition, I'm really curious how much Barbie sticks, especially since, I mean, I know you could say Barbie came out early, but Barbie's also been a phenomenon, and usually phenomenons have done for everything from Everything Everywhere All at Once to Get Out. If something becomes a phenomenon, it usually gets very far. So that could be what Barbie is, but right now, I'm just looking at these 5, and I can't put Robbie in place of any of them. Like I said, Portman's the closest, but I'm just, for some reason, I'm just not feeling it. Maybe I will have a lot of regrets coming up, but as of now, that's where I'm at. So,
all right, what do you got, Ashley?
Basically, the only change that had to be made. Lily Gladstone goes in, and just because I haven't seen enough about it, Vanessa Kirby's role in Napoleon goes into the maybe pile. So I still have Annette Bening for MYAD, or however, I don't know how it's pronounced. We'll find out. Lily Gladstone for Killers of the Flower Moon, Carey Mulligan for Maestro, Margot Robbie for Barbie, and Emma Stone for Poor Things.
Okay. Brian says, we just saw a drunk performance this year with Riseborough into Leslie. Yeah, that's true. Josie says, imagine if we had a triple with Rami Youssef in the mix. It would be great for representation. Brian says, Benning, Gladstone, Huller, Lee, and Stone. And Top Hat says, Barrino, Gladstone, Huller, Lee, and Stone. Brian says, I think it's going to be Benning's award to lose. I had took Fantasia, Portman, and Mulligan. If Netflix put Mulligan in supporting for Maestro, would she sweep supporting?
I just don't. I'm just wondering what Benning's movie is. Like, how much of it is swimming? Like, I'm curious how they like what the movie is, like what it focuses on. I'm really curious about that because we didn't mention this in supporting actress. I have heard Jodie Foster thrown around quite a bit for that one in supporting as well. But yeah, I think the reason I haven't given that movie much attention is I'm just curious to see what exactly it is and how they handle what it's about.
Right.
Before I can say anything.
Josie's personalized predictions for lead actress Leonie Benesh for The Teacher's Lounge, Zara Mir Ebrahimi for Shada, Lily Gladstone for Killers of the Flower Moon, Sandra Huller for Anatomy of a Fall, Greta Lee for Past Lives, Natalie Portman for May December, Alma Poisty for Fallen Leaves, exactly, and Camilla Urzadowska for Peasants. So, Spencer, Sandra Huller for Academy, Take a Shot, Anatomy of a Fall, Lily Gladstone for Killers, Kaylee Spaney for Priscilla, Emma Stone for Poor Things, and Jessica Chastain for Memory. So I made one change. I bumped Natalie Portman out as well for May December. And after seeing the trailer again, I realized what mistake I had made, and I feel like this person belongs here, and they're the last one I'm going to talk about. Obviously, joining the Best Actress lineup of Emma Stone, Lily Gladstone, Carey Mulligan, and Margot Robbie. Welcome, Fantasia Barrino.
Okay.
That trailer gets better every time I see it. I am very hyped for The Color Purple right now, and I did not think I would be.
Well, I mean, I still have mixed feelings about the American Idol people and the Oscars because I was just like, I woke up in the middle of the night the other night and Dreamgirls was on, and it was that scene. And I just, it's like, I get it. I understand it's a big scene, but it's just like, Jennifer Hudson, this is what you do anyway.
Yes.
Like, this is your this isn't like a full-on acting performance. This is like what you do. Because yeah, she has scenes where she acts, but the reason she won is that scene
100%.
where she screams, sings at Jamie Foxx.
You're gonna love me.
I love Dreamgirls. I love that soundtrack. I just, everything about it. I love Eddie Murphy in the movie, but at the end of the day, yeah, 100%. You are absolutely correct, AJ. Oh, real quick, Brian says, speaking of Naiad, I've heard a lot of people mention Jodie Foster also, another thing that was mentioned as you were typing. Brian also says, I heard there's a controversial sex scene with Stone and Poor Things. It's kind of alluded to in the trailer, Brian, actually.
Okay, as far as a controversial sex scene, a movie where Sally Hawkins fucks a fish guy won Best Picture.
Exactly.
I don't think it matters anymore.
No.
Think of about all the acclaim Last Tango in Paris got, with its questionable sex scenes.
That's absolutely correct. And speaking of questionable sex scenes, Best Actor.
All right. Okay, guys, you ready to be shocked?
I know where this is headed.
I made one change.
Yes. I have a feeling we're
Um,
about the same.
Okay, so interestingly enough, I'm still not feeling DiCaprio.
Ooh, you're making a mistake there, man.
Like he's not even on my radar, which is interesting. But like I said, I feel confident because that's what I said about Don't Look Up, and that paid off. So,
This won't.
li- like with Gosling, what I said last time was I had Barry Keoghan in here begrudgingly because I didn't know who else to put. Even though him getting an Afterglow nomination, especially for an Emerald Fennell movie, makes perfect sense. But for some reason, I had to force myself to put him in last time. So I took him out. It was down to him and Bradley Cooper as to who I was going to take out. But while I don't think Maestro is going to like bring the house down, he might as far as his performance goes. So I went ahead and held on to Bradley Cooper and Coleman Domingo for Rustin, Paul Giamatti for The Holdovers, Cillian Murphy for Oppenheimer, and naturally I added Jeffrey Wright because how fucking amazing would it be to finally see Jeffrey Wright nominated, especially in leading? Would just be fantastic. And with American Fiction being it's like a big crowd please, like I said, I didn't know how much I wanted to go in on American Fiction, but this and Adapted immediately jumped to mind is if I have a chance to even predict Jeffrey Wright will get nominated, I'm gonna take that. So I put him in place of Barry Keoghan. So I just almost took out Saltburn entirely because I'm kind of I wasn't sure about it before and I'm not sure about it now, even though Emerald Fennell alone should be enough confidence, but I feel like it's I'll wait and see thing.
The trailer is very interesting. It does absolutely nothing about what the movie is going to be.
Yeah, that's probably what its best trump card. It's literally like I get an idea of what might be happening,
Nope.
but there's no sort of definitive sort of like, right, this is obvious.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it's not like Killers of the Flower Moon. It's like the women are dying, aren't they? Yeah, no. So a few changes for mine. Fassbender and Hopkins disappear. With Cooper still on the sidelines, he was probably going to make it in, and then Jeffrey Wright showed up. So I have DiCaprio for Killers of the Flower Moon, Coleman Domingo for Rustin, Paul Giamatti for The Holdovers, Cillian Murphy for Oppenheimer, and Jeffrey Wright for American Fiction. I think Holdovers probably also now like showing up on my radar. What with its pretty good performance at TIFF, and I'm trying to remember if it's London Film Festival bound. I know there's a load of things. But yeah, that's what I'm sticking to at least for the minute.
Okay. Where are we? So we've got Josie's lead actor lineup as Dennis Zelaglu, take a shot, for About Dry Grasses, Decap for Killers of the Flower Moon, Christian Friedel for The Zone of Interest, Paul Giamatti for The Holdovers, Benoit Magamel for The Taste of Things, Cillian Murphy for Oppenheimer, Andrew Scott for All of Us Strangers, Jeffrey Wright for American Fiction, and Koji Yakusho, take a shot, for Perfect Days. I think lots of shots today, apparently. And after lineup for Spencer, we have Barry Keoghan for Saltburn, Jeffrey Wright for American Fiction, Cillian Murphy for Oppenheimer, Bradley Cooper for Maestro, and Paul Giamatti for The Holdovers. Let's see.
after his big win, I kind of really wanted to say Peter Sarsgaard could be more in this, but as soon as Jeffrey Wright happened, I immediately jumped on that, and Peter Sarsgaard kind of became a. I didn't even mean. I was already leaning towards the end of this sentence. I didn't even realize it. He'll be a memory by then.
Yeah. Brian says Cooper, Domingo, Giamatti, Murphy, and Wright. Top Hat says Cooper, DiCaprio, Giamatti, Murphy, and you. Josie says if Saltburn rises, I wonder if Rosamund Pike could squeeze in a supporting actress. Yeah, I could see that. I see that name popping up every once in a while.
Didn't Ashley say that?
Yeah. Obviously, Ashley agreed with that.
Oh, interesting. I just noticed the Pot-au Feu, the one we talked about earlier. You know, the French one, Taste, whatever it is. They're just releasing it in the UK as Pot-au Feu.
Yeah, that's what it's called now, but we're calling it Taste of Things because it sounds better.
Oh.
Trademark Jersey. Before or after I see Killers of the Flower Moon, I will probably rewatch Quick and the Dead, another Leo Western. All right, actor. It's interesting because I also did the same thing AJ did. I also had to bump out Barry Keoghan for Saltburn today. I also bumped him out for Jeffrey Wright for American Fiction. But I didn't change anything else. Bradley Cooper for Maestro, Cillian Murphy for Oppenheimer, Paul Giamatti for The Holdovers, and Leonardo DiCaprio for Killers of the Flower Moon. I think pretty much everywhere I turn, I see DiCaprio, Giamatti, and Murphy. And those are the ones that have been the constants since day one. But then again, it's September. So we have to keep saying that. But I honestly don't think any of those three are getting bumped out. So it's going to be who's competing for fourth and fifth. And it looks like Jeffrey Wright's here to stay too. So I guess we'll see if American Fiction retains its visibility throughout the season. Oh, we got two left, ladies and gentlemen. Best director.
This, guess what? One change.
Same.
And you know exactly who's in now. The question is who I took out to put him there.
Yes.
So as we talked about, just to get this out of the way again, I don't think Barbie is going to be the juggernaut a lot of people think it is right now, which explains Gerwig's absence here. But the thing I was talking about was the Holdovers and how when Alexander Payne isn't making Downsizing, he's almost a guarantee.
Yep.
They fucking love him when he's not making We love him when he's not making Downsizing.
Yes.
Everybody loves him when he's not making Downsizing. So I had him in here, and I had him in here pretty confidently. But looking things over, I didn't want to sacrifice the two women. I didn't want to sacrifice Nolan and Scorsese by any means. So Payne is the one that I took out. So I have Yorgos Lanthimos in place of Payne, which I even said in the last video I should have done anyway. But yeah, so he's here now along with Nolan for Oppenheimer, Scorsese for Killers of the Flower Moon, Celine Song for Past Lives, and Justine Triet for Anatomy of a Fall. Because it's gonna take Wild Horses to drag me away from Past Lives. So, yeah.
Actually,
Sort of similar hand to me. Lanthimos moves in, and I move Glazer out. Sticking with Emerald for now, for Saltburn, Greta Gerwig for Barbie, Christopher Nolan for Oppenheimer, and Martin Scorsese for Killers of the Flower Moon.
all right. Josie says Memory has no distributor yet, so it may be in contention for next year, possibly. Brian says Scorsese, Nolan, Song, Lanthimos, and Glazer. Josie's predictions. Nuri Bilge Ceylan for About Dry Grasses. Seems to be a very popular movie with your predictions, Josie. Jonathan Glazer for Zone of Interest. Tran Ong Hung for Taste of Things. That's what we're calling it now. Lanthimos for Poor Things. Miyazaki for The Boy and the Heron. Nolan for Oppenheimer. Scorsese for Killers. Justine Triet for Anatomy of a Fall. Hugh Welchman and Dorota Kobiela for The Peasants. And Wim Wenders for Perfect Days. Perfect Days, of course, being Japan's submission and the master filmmaker behind it. I don't think we should count out for Best Director. I mean, he's directed some of the greatest films of all time, including Paris, Texas, and Wings of Desire. Interesting.
It does feel like it's an age, though, that Wenders has really been considered Oscar-worthy. I feel there's been a lot of films that he's done over the past few years. Admittedly, some have been documentaries rather than feature stuff, so maybe that's why.
Fair. Best Director for Spencer is Celine's Song for Past Lives, Martin Scorsese for Killers of the Flower Moon, Christopher Nolan for Oppenheimer, Yorgos Lanthimos for Poor Things, and Michael Mann for Ferrari. Trailer looks good. I won't lie, 100% trailer looks good, and Adam Driver looks good in the trailer, and I have not seen anybody bringing him up.
I said in the last video that I was convinced that Ferrari would be pushed, and that was before a trailer came out.
That's fair.
But I still don't know. That's all I have. I don't know. No elaboration.
That's fair. My Best Director lineup remains the same except for one notable exception. I had to move Emerald Fennell out for Saltburn. I didn't want to, but I had to because welcome to the lineup, Yorgos Lanthimos for Poor Things. Joining my four that I'm not touching unless I absolutely have to, Scorsese, Nolan, Gerwig, and Payne.
Apparently Ferrari is having a Christmas Day release. So it just about scrapes in. Hell, they're that scared they're even releasing it in the UK this year. Not even Poor Things is doing that. What the hell?
It also gets to that point where you, admittedly, surely we can all admit that we've done this at some point. When something comes in kind of late, and you feel good about what you already have, and you don't want another movie to come out just because it fucks with what you have.
Yes.
And it's like what all the changes that have to be made if this movie should come in are a pain in the ass. So.
Brian says, I'm a bit curious of them vendors. Top Hat's lineup is Glazer, Lanthimos, Nolan, Scorsese, and Song. Josie mentions that Nuri Bilge Ceylan's initials are NBC. Funny. It was Lanthimos' birthday 2 days ago. He turned 50. It would be so cool if there was a Greek restaurant called Papa Yorgos. Papa Yorgos' authentic Greek kitchen.
After seeing his movies, I don't think I'd want to go to that, but
nope. Definitely not.
That's probably a pretty nasty ass place based on his movies. But.
Speaking of kitchens, just because it reminds me, because I'll probably forget, even though when we do the thing this Sunday, the first episode will have aired. The TV series of Boiling Point's coming out this week. Weirdly, they've shown the short film, but they're not showing the feature-length film. So I don't know whether the feature-length film is not canon. But from what I can tell, the series of 4 things follows up immediately from where the short and or the feature leave off, to some extent.
Well, the question is it still the one take look?
Yes.
Nice.
They are sticking with that for the 4 episodes.
Nice.
So Graham Chef is not happy that he's lost his empire to his sous chef, from what I can tell from the radio trailers.
So he's alive then.
Well, yeah.
Yes.
Otherwise, him being second billed, it'd be like, is he a ghost? Is this George Clooney? Is this Gravity? Doing it again? Sorry.
Yeah, because that ending was pretty up in the air. Speaking of Clooney, also.
Damn it!
Oh boy. Josie elaborates about the Papa Yorgos authentic Greek kitchen, the falafel and lobster, the falobster, served with the side of spaghetti served by Barry Keoghan. And then for dessert, the favorite cake.
Oh, God.
Does the cake have a dog tooth inside of it?
Probably.
Good.
And speaking of good, let's take it home. Best picture.
I was just counting to make sure I have 10 here. I'm pretty sure I do.
Hold on. Now you've got me questioning this.
Luckily, because I've got the spread chart,
Yes,
I can
remember.
see the list of 5 for all the other categories, and then it's like there's 5 underneath that. I'm good.
Because remember when we did our last prediction video for nominations last year, and I just forgot Elvis. I was predicting Elvis. I was predicting Elvis to get nominated for picture. I just forgot to put it in. All right. Oh, guess what?
Oh boy.
You forgot Priscilla.
I keep forgetting Priscilla exists, let alone.
Yes.
Well done, Sophia.
Yeah. Okay. One change from last time, as usual, and it's right here at the top. I put one at the top, and I took off the one that was at the bottom. So I really wasn't sure if I was going to go this much on American fiction. But if it's really that much of a crowd pleaser, which, like I said, to beat a feel-good Alexander Payne movie, there must be something really special about it. So for now, I'm going to go ahead and put it in like the 10th slot here. Bumping out Saltburn. So the only place I have Saltburn now is original screenplay, and that's it for now. And we'll see how that goes. And the others are the ones I had before: Anatomy of a Fall, Barbie, The Color Purple, The Holdovers, The Iron Claw, Killers of the Flower Moon, Oppenheimer, Past Lives, and Poor Things. Yes, despite everything I said about Barbie, I do still think the phenomenon status and the love behind it will still easily get it a picture nomination. It's just a matter of, apart from that in screenplay, what else? Which I'm not completely confident in, as you can see.
Ashley.
2 changes. Napoleon and Blackberry disappear. And I'm pretty sure... I'm trying to remember what I put in. American Fiction is one of them. I had Anatomy of a Fall before. I have Barbie before. Holdovers I think I had before. Killers of the Flower Moon. I think that's the one that I may not have had. Oh no, I must have. Maestro I had. Oppenheimer I had. Poor Things I might not have had. Saltburn and the Zone of Interest. So that's my 10. I can't remember what my second one... I know American Fiction is in there. Thanks, Tiff. I can't remember what the other one is. And sadly I didn't save the previous list like I was aiming to see exactly what changes I made. I should probably like bold them or italic them in my chart so then I actually know that's the different one. But
put them in parentheses. That's what I do.
Yeah.
Help.
Those are my 10, at least as it stands. When I actually get to hear about a lot of these films when they have their London screenings, I get to see more of the sort of the write-ups from the various reviews that I've seen. I might get a better gauge as to what needs to go from that list and what needs to stay and what have I got to try and work out to wedge in and what needs to wedge out.
So Josie asks, and AJ, I don't know if you can elaborate on this because I don't know exactly what she's referring to. Hopefully she can basically clarify what she's saying. Owen, were you and AJ arguing with each other? not any more so than normal.
Like just now, or
I'm not sure. There's no clarification. Josie, please elaborate. Hi, Cassie.
was it Was it when I was talking about, we were on the phone talking about the Barbie situation?
Maybe, but that was late. This just dropped now, so that would have been a while ago. So that would literally have been a long ago in the way before time, like an hour ago. Josie just.
I don't know what that's in reference to.
I don't either. We'll get there. Top Hat says Barbie color purple holdovers, killers, Maestro. Oppenheimer, Past Lives, Poor Things, Saltburn, and Zone of Interest. Brian says Anatomy, Barbie, Color Purple, Holdovers, Killers. Maestro, Oppenheimer, Past Lives, Poor Things, Zone of Interest. No elaboration. Brian says it's odd having 2 non-English films in picture, but still not jumping into Spider-Verse. AJ has a video on that.
I mean, kind of.
Picture, to the surprise of no one, Josie did pick About Dry Grasses. All of Us Strangers, Anatomy of a Fall, Asteroid City, The Boy and the Heron, Holdovers, Killers of the Flower Moon, Oppenheimer, Past Lives, Peasants, Perfect Days, Poor Things, Spider-Verse, Taste of Things, Zone of Interest. Justifiably so, since it's a masterpiece. Many have Oppenheimer at number 1, but don't you think Killers would have an edge above given the indigenous representation factor? I am super excited about Killers of the Flower Moon.
A lot of people try to put the importance of the subject matter into the chances of it winning or not, but that's not always the case. The thing that immediately comes to mind is when it seemed like the campaign was trying to do that with 3 billboards against The Shape of Water.
Yep.
And sometimes they just, when they take to the movie enough, that just kind of becomes a side factor.
Oh, I got a response to that from Josie. She says, on the last stream, AJ said you wouldn't be back until November. Yeah, I'm only here for the Oscar show.
Yeah, that was in reference to Q&As and movie clubs and all that.
And videos in general, except for the video that absolutely no one referenced my disheveled state the first time I've been on camera in a long time.
Me and Owen had this conversation. I seemed irate because I was really annoyed this past Q&A because I felt like we needed a third person.
Mm-hmm.
That we didn't have, and that was making things a little more, well, it seemed like it was more out of control than it was. We got it under control, but I was frazzled in that video.
You didn't have that much sleep from what I vaguely remember, so
yeah, 100% you didn't have much sleep.
Yeah, just like today, and I've been looking at myself the whole time here like I look like shit. You can tell.
Yeah, if you watch my Mountain Dew voodoo video, you can definitely tell the same about me right now.
Before we start, I kept trying to adjust the light to fix it, and I just look like this. This is just what I look like, and it's terrible.
There's like a huge monsoon outside, and the screen is like flicked off twice during the show. So I mean, we'll see how that goes. Spencer gets one of the last words here, as makes sense in every way possible. Best picture lineup for Spencer is Holdovers, Priscilla, All of Us Strangers, American Fiction, Past Lives, Barbie, Killers of the Flower Moon, Poor Things, Oppenheimer, and Ferrari. Interesting. Well, like I said, it's not going to be American Hustle because I have a feeling I'm probably going to begrudgingly have to bump it out beforehand, but I'm not giving up on Air. I'm just not. My best picture lineup is Air, Barbie, The Color Purple, The Holdovers, Killers of the Flower Moon, Maestro, Oppenheimer, and Saltburn. And the newest members of my lineup, bumping out May, December, of course, is Poor Things. And as much as I hate to say it, bumping out The Iron Claw is American Fiction. I hate to say it's bumping out The Iron Claw. That's what I'm trying.
I'm not letting the A24 movies go. I can't yet.
I don't want to. I just had to because of the way the predictions are. Worst come to worst, the same thing I said before. If I have to, I'll do what I'm going to do with Viola Davis. If I have to, I'll bump out Air and put the Iron Claw back in. Problem solved. But everybody else, like talking about movies like Zone of Interest, Anatomy of a Fall, and Past Lives, and these are movies I'm not going anywhere near. So that's going to come back and haunt me like it always does.
Well, the other thing I was talking about in the last video was that the Iron Claw also covers a category that we don't really see much anymore, but I still have faith in, which is the prestige sports movie. Like I said, we don't really have those a lot now, but that, and obviously a part of it's also, you know, how much of it's going to focus on the sport and how much of it them as like humans, but I imagine the sport plays a big part in it.
Yeah, 100%.
I now realize why I have my concerns for the Ferrari film. In the UK, it's being released exclusively through Sky Cinema and the Now streaming service. The reason why that concerns me is because that's where we had stuff like the Hurricane Heist and that Blythe Spirit remake that was absolute dog shit.
Josie says about Iron Claw for Bear Claw. Honestly, I'm like I said, I don't gel well with A24 by and large. There are a couple things that are definitely exceptions to the rule, but Iron Claw is a movie I'm exceedingly excited about for many reasons.
Right. And I told you this, and I stand by it. If it should come back to your theaters, I actually think you would dig Past Lives.
I hope that it does, because I want to give it a shot.
I think anybody that hasn't seen Past Lives yet needs to.
I mean, don't forget, a lot of my favorite movies this year were movies that basically came and went, and they have one-word titles, weirdly enough. Justice for Barry and the Spirit Awards. That's going to be the show. I want to personally thank Spencer and Josie for sending me questions and commentary and their lineups before we went live tonight, because if I didn't have them, then we wouldn't have had their content brought to us. So I appreciate both of you, as always. We all do. And hopefully we'll get Spencer returning on a regular basis sooner rather than later. So, as I see Ashley is getting ready to wrap it up here, since he's the official host now, I will let you know that, again, the reports of my demise have been greatly exaggerated. I am obviously still here. I slowly but surely am getting back to a better state in every way possible, and there was a very good chance tonight you would have seen me, but I'm kind of going to keep you, unless you follow my Facebook, and then if you do, then you already know that the answer to the question. But I mean, we do have some news in the future, which I will be sharing. But I want to thank everyone for joining us tonight. Thanks to Cassie for popping in. Thanks to Brian for putting stuff in the Discord server as well, answering some questions. I did see that there were several comments, obviously, from Mr. Top Hat. It was nice to see him return again. And anybody that's lurking, thank you for joining us tonight. That being said, Ashley, wrap it up.
Yeah, in terms of stuff, myself and AJ and hopefully Chris will be here on Monday to cover the first of our horror spooky trilogy. I don't know. It's Horror Express, so I guess horror's in the title, so I guess that helps. Even though it's probably the least horror of a lot of them, because we're dealing with 1970s B-movie style stuff. That being said, we've got Christopher Lee and Peter Cushing, so win.
Yeah, it's definitely horror enough for me. I'll say that.
For the special effects, or just in general?
In general.
So we'll be back for that on Monday, and then on Tuesday, both at 6 p.m. Eastern, by the way. Tuesday at 6 Eastern will be our Q&A session, where
Don't forget we're cutting Q&As for October.
Oh yeah, my bad. Forgot about that. I
got
got a day
the
off.
schedule right in front of me right now.
I don't know. My diary's folded up. So there.
I don't know if AJ sent you the schedule. I'm not positive.
Tentatively no, but whatever. So yeah, so that's the start of your trilogy. Then on the 15th, we'll be discussing the Frighteners, and on the 29th, Trick or Treat. We got R, we got X, we got everything. Other letters may be involved. You've got my occasional gaming videos over the next few weeks as well. One like at the start of October, and then two, I should say, for start of October, and then two around the end of Halloween, Day of the Dead time, which is spoilers for what those videos will be. But you could probably guess with a gaming thing related to October 31st, it's probably Halloween based. Or I've got to think of something else that happened on October 31st. But it isn't Halloween. And AJ's movie reviews and all sorts of other shenanigans over the upcoming weeks as well.
It's funny we were talking about Ferrari here at the end, because we're going to be talking about Michael Mann in like 2 days. So that should be interesting.
Yep.
Aside from that, get updates on what the channel's doing at Popcast Network and at Surround Disney on Twitter X. I can also be found on Twitter X at Ash is my name UK, where it's mainly just me trying to post relatively good and funny things. Try and lighten your timeline somewhat if you do follow me. AJ cannot be found on social media, and just like Keith Richards is dapper with an eye patch. Yes, I watched Rock and Roll Circus. It's not like there was anything else on the TV that day. And also cannot be killed by conventional weapons. With that, thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, ring the bell, all those things. And until tomorrow, boys and girls, that's all we got to say about that.